Hey, host team. So, another week has come and gone, and I am so excited that we get to spend another weekend together just serving God and serving His people. And what an honor that is because we can have the opportunity just to change lives on the regular. Who else can say that? So, I have a verse today that I really want to unpack for us, and this is what we're going to talk about this weekend. And I hope that it sheds a little bit of a different light on the topic that we're going to talk about. I'm not going to tell you the topic yet because you might listen to this verse and be like, "What is she smoking?" Really, it was nothing, but whatever. So I want to read this to you. It's an Old Testament, couple of verses. It's Isaiah 61, and I'm going to start in verse 1. And I just want you to know that this portion of scripture is very near and dear to my heart because I have been the person in this scripture, and I have also been the one that God has sent to do the things in this scripture. I know God has moved me from Georgia to Oklahoma for a reason, and I'm just going to start there, and I'm going to read Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of His splendor. So, I hope you took that in. I hope you heard the words of that. You know, He's coming to bind up the brokenhearted. And there's just so much to that. There's so many, here we are in ashes, and He wants to make beauty from that. And the thing that I know is a lot of times we get ourselves in these situations and we don't know how we got there. But if we were to take a life inventory, we might can figure it out. And one of the things that I know is that there are people all around me who are struggling so hard. They are struggling with money. They are struggling with their kids. They are struggling in every area possible. But right now, I just want to tell you, when it comes to the things that you own, the things that you have, the money that you possess, it can be more of what God has come to set us free from than a benefit. And I want you to think about that for a second, because a lot of times people, we have people that come in for benevolence all the time because they can't pay their bills. And you look at what they're spending, and, they have a car payment that is $600 or $700, and yet they don't feel like they have any extra money left over so that they can give to God. The thing about that is that they don't see that $600 car payment as bondage. It's just bondage. All the stuff that we have, it just holds us in this invisible cell to where we are a prisoner of deception, which is what Craig talked about the first week of January when he talked about Kevin Penry being in the closet and the closet's unlocked. The closet's unlocked. All you have to do is open the door. And yet we wonder why we struggle with our finances. And it's because they're not God's. He gave every single penny of the money we have spent to us. And what do we do in return with it? Please know that this convicts me, because you can never give enough. You can never give enough. You know, Jesus said that the law says, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say to you, if you've looked on a woman and you've lusted, you have already committed adultery in your heart. And if that's the case, if Jesus upped the ante, which he did for everything, and in the Old Testament, it was bring your tithe to the storehouse. Tithe means tenth. Storehouse means church. Back in the day, it was the temple. God himself said, bring a tithe to the storehouse. So if we apply the same exact principle of if you have looked on a woman, you have committed adultery in your heart, then what does that mean about the verse about tithing? It means that a tenth is just getting started, because it's about the condition of our heart. Are we looking to the things that keep us in bondage? The mortgage, the car payment, the kids' soccer, all of those things. Are we looking to those things? And those are the things that keep us from real life. When God says, I've come to set you free. I've come to replace your ashes for beauty. Just give it to me. And it is for his splendor. He wants to set us all free. But as long as we are looking to money, we will never be free. And if you think you cannot afford to tithe, I'm going to tell you now, you cannot afford not to tithe. If you are not tithing right now, and I don't mean tipping God. I don't mean, oh, I've got $2, so I'm going to throw $2 in the thing. Oh, look at me, it's a 20 this week. That's tipping God. That's just tipping. That's what we would call an offering. That is not your tithe. So I want to challenge you, if you are not tithing because you think you cannot, I get it. I've been there. I'm going through a divorce. I am losing half of my income. No, I'm sorry, 2/3 of my income. I'm losing 2/3 of my income. And I am still giving to God. Still. And I will never stop. And if you are in a place where this is a challenging thought to you or a challenging concept, please come talk to me, because God has come to bring you freedom. Freedom. This is not a rule he wants you to observe. It is a heart posture of love and adoration for the glory of his splendor. And he wants to set you free from the curse that this world puts on money. You will never find freedom financially. You just won't if you are not giving it to God. There's a whole thing that happens to us psychologically where giving just remaps everything in our brain to where everything is so focused on us. But when we start giving to God, it opens up new neural pathways to where we start handling the rest of our money differently. So when you give 10%, the other 90% gets taken care of totally differently than it did in the past, because you've now remapped what's going on in your brain. It's not just spiritual, it's psychological. But don't you want to be set free? So if this is a challenging concept to you, please talk to me. Let's talk about it this weekend. I love you guys. Wear your red shirts this weekend and just come to Huddle 35 minutes before the experience that you're going to serve. Okay, guys, I hope you heard my heart. And here's the thing. God don't need your money. God just knows that you need to give money, because that is what will change the posture of your heart. Love you guys.